So here's another piece of crap from Sky I'm going to be modifying. It's a wireless booster box, and what this allows you to do is connect to a Wi-Fi network, and then basically what this will do is act as a repeater, so it'll retransmit that signal, or you can connect an Ethernet enabled device into it and then just get internet access that way. It's like a Wi-Fi bridge, and that's exactly what I've got going on in the shed. So I've got this connected to a Raspberry Pi, so this brings Wi-Fi to the Raspberry Pi. So, and to modify it, what I'm going to do is put two external antennas on, just like the ones that are on this IP camera here. I bought two of those, and we'll just be using these connections here, but I'll show you in a minute, you can't just use these connections straight out of the box. So I think, and maybe some other products that use this board, there would maybe be antenna connectors on here, but instead what we've got, that there is the, I think that could be the RF transistor, I'm not too sure. So we have this component, then we have a capacitor, at least I'm really sure it's a capacitor, and then it comes round and then goes to this resistor. So what's going to need to happen is that resistor needs to be removed, and then what we're going to do is solder the ground of the coaxial just to any ground point on the board, which is basically just the whole thing near enough. And then what we'll do is we'll scrape back a little bit of this trace here, and then we'll solder the middle conductor of the coaxial cable to there, and then we'll just put a bit of epoxy over that just to keep it secure while we route the antennas through the front of the product case, and that should give us connections for external antennas, and we'll need to do that on both sides. This has got two crappy patch antennas on it, as you can see, which just basically short to ground. So basically all you need to do is just figure out a suitable length. So we want something sort of like this, and you just sort of figure out a length, and that'll just connect in sort of there through a hole that we'll drill. And then what you want to do is you want to cut it to length, so we'll cut it about there, and you can just cut it with a craft knife, it cuts really easily. Just cut straight through it like that, and then what you need to do is very carefully shave off the outer insulation so that you end up with something that looks pretty much just like this. And then the middle of this we're going to solder to the pad for the RF output, and this will just go to ground. Okay, so I decided just to get straight on with it, and I've got these connections soldered on like this. And what I've also done to the case is drilled the holes in the case for the antennas. Two 6.5mm holes. So I'll just show you that just now. Just in that sort of position there. Accidentally another day there I'd knocked off one of the LEDs on the board, so but luckily it's not the LED that shows the state of the wireless connection. That was an orange LED which shows that there's an error with the wireless connection. The white one just flashes sort of like every second to show that there's a wireless connection. So what's had to happen is I had to take the board from the old system that I had. This was actually the one that was already in the shed, which just had the solid copper wire antennas that I had soldered onto it, and I had to do that because I damaged the WPS button, removed one of the LEDs by accident, and plus there seemed to be some sort of bug with the board that came out this black unit where I just could not connect it at all. I'd be able to access its network interface and I'd be able to see that it was connected, but I couldn't connect any devices to it. So this is actually the old board which came out of the white Sky booster boxes, the slightly older ones, but this one works brilliant. The mod has been completed. and I've had it working in the shed, and I'll go out just now and show you the setup. I've tried putting a massive high gain antenna on it like that, and then I looked at the signal on the web interface, but it didn't seem to make any difference, so it's just these small antennas that work the best. And these are the kind of antennas with that have the pin in the middle. Although you can use whichever kind you want, just provided the connector that you get is exactly the same. So that's it all done. So I'm going to install it outside now. I couldn't be bothered putting the light guides for the LEDs back in again because it's a nightmare to get in, plus it's in the way of the wires. And also the WPS button, I haven't put that back in, but if I ever need it I could just put a screwdriver through there and press this switch. So I can put the lid back on this again. I think that's the way it goes. Yeah, these things are a nightmare to take apart and put together. Yeah, it looks like to put it together, you hinge this side on like that, and then you would just clamp it down, and then it would hopefully go in. Can't do this with one hand though, really well. So here is the final setup. It's installed like this, and because I'm running a Raspberry Pi and an IP camera from it, I've got it connected into a switch. This is a powered switch, it's not a hub, and so one of the cables is going out to the IP camera, another one is going to the Raspberry Pi, so that's giving me access to both things. And I tried using the Wi-Fi built into the IP camera, but that wasn't quite as good as doing it this way. I didn't have as good performance, so this whole setup works really nicely, and the Wi-Fi light is solid on. It would maybe flash occasionally, but when it's solid on, that means it's getting a good signal. Although I did look on the web page for this, and it was showing that the signal was actually quite weak, but even with that it was still working good. I was able to access the IP camera and get a really good frame rate as well. So it's working a lot better than when I first tried this with just the built-in antennas. And it's trying to get a signal from here all the way over to the cabin in the distance there, so it's quite a way the signal has to travel. Even for a cheap crappy router, that's quite good.